What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 10th Doctor David Tennant story, Love and Monsters. It is the famous Love and Monsters from Series 2. You love it or you hate it. Do many people love it? I don't know. I think some people do quite enjoy this one, and we'll see what my opinion is on it later. Well, throughout this video, I guess. But yeah, Love and Monsters, interesting one for sure. Let's get started with the cast. David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. I mean, he's good. He's not really in it, barely at all. But because this is the first proper Doctor Light story, like Doctor's pretty much not in it at all. He's in it very, very briefly throughout. But it's a story about the Doctor. But you know, for the moments that David Tennant has, he's good. There's not really much else to say. I really can't stick on this for very long. Same goes for Billie Piper as Rose Tyler. She's in it even less in a lot of ways. Yeah, she's fine. She's fine. She's not really much of a part of this story. Mark Warren as Elton Pope. Now, this is the main character of the story, Elton. And you know what? For all the issues that this story has, I think Elton is an interesting character. I like him. He's, I think, acted pretty well by Mark Warren. He's quite, I don't know. I mean, he's got this weird thing of how old is he in this episode? I don't really know how old he's supposed to be. I mean, he's flirting with Jackie, who I assume is in her 40s, I would say, at this point. Is he? He's not that old. He's definitely not that old. I don't know how old he's supposed to be here, but yeah, he's quite fun. He feels quite young. I don't know if he's supposed to be that, you know, like 20s, but like early 20s is what he feels like. But is that how old he is? I don't know. But he does a good job of portraying the character, I think, and seeing into his story. He is an interesting character, and I do quite like him. Right, I'm not going to go into all the other characters because there's a lot of characters here, so I'm just going to, talk about Elton. So we'll now get on to some points, starting off with following the story of Elton. So we just talked about it, but yeah, this whole story is following Elton's life, basically, and how he met the Doctor and how he met all these other people, and how he got involved with this Linda group, which we'll talk about in a second. So the whole thing is about Elton. It's a very different thing. It's something that Doctor Who hadn't done up until this point. We didn't even really have a Doctor Light story in Series 1, did we? I'm trying to think. Not like a Doctor Light story quite like this. And yeah, it's interesting following his life. Very different for Doctor Who, but on the most part, it is quite interesting. The formation of Linda. So Linda is this group that consists of Elton, Ursula, Mr. Skinner, Bridget, and Bliss, a bunch of people who just kind of met because the original reason was that they were all trying to find the Doctor in some way because they'd had some sort of connection with the Doctor at some point in their past. For Elton, it was that he saw him the night his mother died and he wants to know what was going on there, and that's kind of, why that all started for him, and, there's different reasons for everyone else. And yeah, they form this group, Linda. There is I can't remember exactly what the acronym stands for. Something in detective agency, but I can't exactly remember what it was. But yeah, it's cool to see, these normal people form this group, and it ends up not, it starts off as this whole thing of researching into, where is the Doctor, who is the Doctor, how can we find him, and it kind of just turns into a friend group where they play music together, they play games, they just have a good time. It's just like a social group, so it's really just nice, it's just a nice thing. Victor Kennedy arrives at Linda. So yes, they've been having so much fun playing music and doing all these fun things, but then Victor Kennedy arrives, played by Peter Kay, great comedian. I do quite enjoy him. Seen a few of his stand-up shows and stuff, and I always love the whole Dalek bread thing. If you know, you know. Yeah, he arrives at Linda and basically gets them back on track to finding the Doctor, because he also wants to find the Doctor for whatever reason. So everything gets, it's no longer fun anymore. It gets very strict, and yeah, they're back on the case of the Doctor again with the help of Victor Kennedy. Elton meeting Jackie. So once they get back on the track again, he meets Jackie, and yeah, that whole scene of where he's in like the laundromat, she's there, and he wants to talk to her, but he's like, I had to do this, and then she's doing this, and then a bit of comedy, and she does this. He's making it look like he has to put all this work in to, you know, get information and to talk to her, but she's actually so upfront and talkative that she just basically starts talking to him, and eventually kind of comes onto him. And yeah, it's I find that quite fun. I do quite like Jackie as a character on the most part. She can be quite annoying sometimes, but in this one, I really quite enjoy her. She's silly, she's quite funny, and it's just good. The Absorbaloff looks horrible. So we get onto the actual monster of this, which is Victor Kennedy, Peter Kay. He is the Absorbaloff, and it is actually a monster that I believe like a child created. I don't know if it was some like children in need thing or something, but a child drew a monster. It was like a competition, I think. A bunch of children drew a bunch of monsters, and the BBC chose one to actually feature in an episode, and this was the one that they chose. I think the premise of the Absorbaloff is pretty cool. He touches people, absorbs them into him. I think that's a pretty cool premise. The execution is a bit strange. He looks very silly. He's kind of like a Slovene, but just more disgusting somehow. I think as much as I like Peter Kay, the accent as well makes it even more silly. I mean, this is supposed to be a silly story, but it almost takes a bit too much of the mix sometimes. And yeah, the Absorbaloff is just, I mean, I like the whole scene of where Elton's, trying to figure out what to call it. I like that whole scene, like Absorberling, Absorbathon, Absorbaloff. And he's like, yes, I like that, Absorbaloff, we'll go with that. I like that whole scene. And it kind of happens again at the end with the Doctor too. But yeah, the Absorbaloff as a creature though, like the concept, don't like the execution. The Absorbaloff has absorbed everyone but Elton. So one by one, people start getting absorbed. I think it starts with Bliss, then... No, I think it starts with... I think it does start with Bliss, then Bridget, then Mr. Skinner, and then at the end, once Elton and Ursula both find out about the Absorbaloff, Ursula gets absorbed, and yeah, it's once again, it's quite brutal. The screaming and the sadness. It's also quite silly, and yeah, it's just a bit. I quite like this episode until the Absorbaloff arrives, and then it just, yeah, for me it goes down quite a bit at that point. He's defeated by everyone inside him pulling, and the cane being broken. Yeah, it's a bit of a weak resolution, I think. The fact that, the Doctor rocks up, and he doesn't actually really do anything. He just kind of rocks up there, and then everybody inside of the Absorbaloff is like, we just got to pull, we just got to, keep pulling, and that'll, I don't know. I don't think that was the idea to actually kill him that way, because he did that, he then dropped his cane, and then Elton snapped the cane, and that is what killed him, by snapping the cane. So it's yeah, I guess it's okay as a resolution, but it's a bit crap. I mean, if they could be pulling, and the fact that they're pulling, and it's very uncomfortable for the poor Absorbaloff. Why were they not doing that more often? Why do they just wait until this one point to do that? I mean, they could make his life a living hell by just pulling all the time. And can they not do that when he's turned back into, Victor Kennedy, when he doesn't look like the Absorbaloff? They're still there. Can they be pulling and stuff then? How does that work? That's not really mentioned either. So yeah, it's an okay way of defeating him, but there are still issues. And finally, the part you've all been waiting for, the sex joke is horrible. The whole paving slab sex life joke. Oh, I think this is what turns a lot of people off this story. I mean, it's not great before that point with the Absorbaloff, but then that scene is just, the fact it's like we even have a bit of a sex life, it's like a bit of a love life is what they say because it's Doctor Who. But it's just it's horrible to think about. It's really horrible to think about. I mean, the fact that they were able to save quotation marks Ursula anyway, where the Doctor, he zaps the floor and with his sonic screwdriver, and they're able to, you know, uh, get her face back, but just on a paving stone. He's like, get the shovel. It's a funny scene. It's really stupid though, and yeah, the love joke is going too far. So that is Love and Monsters. On the most part, I say on the most part. On the most part, I don't like what's going on. But for the first, I don't know, half of this story, maybe I actually quite enjoy it when it's just Elton, and it's the group and they're having fun and they're doing what they're doing. I like it. The stuff with Jackie, I like as well. But it's the stuff once the Absorbloff arrives that it's just like, he's just picking them off one by one, and yeah, it's just quite, and then yeah, the icing on the cake at the end with that joke just really pulls it down for me. So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. It's smack bam down the middle for me, because it has its good points, it has its bad points. I like that they went for something quite different to what they'd done before at all. So I applaud them for that. But all in all, I don't think it really worked out, mainly because of the villain itself and some of the things said in the story. But yeah, it's going to be a 5 out of 10. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.